The space station's observation deck fell silent as the massive alien ships appeared on the edge of Jupiter's orbit. General Catherine Foster stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her gray-streaked brown hair pulled into a tight bun. At 48, she had spent 30 years in military service, rising through the ranks despite the barriers that had tried to hold her back. "How many?" she asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. Lieutenant Paul Davis checked the readings again. 7 capital ships, ma'am, each one approximately 3 times the size of our largest vessel. Catherine nodded. Humanity had expanded through their solar system, building colonies on Mars and several moons, but they had never encountered intelligent alien life until now. As the highest-ranking military officer in Earth's United Defense Force, the responsibility of first contact fell to her. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies." The communication officer nodded. "Channel open, General." Catherine straightened her uniform jacket. "This is General Catherine Foster of Earth's United Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your species." The screens remained dark for almost a minute before flickering to life. The alien that appeared had bluish-gray skin and a face that reminded Catherine of a hairless cat with too many eyes. It wore ornate armor with strange symbols that probably indicated rank. "I am Ambassador Zornath of the Keldorian Empire," the alien said, its translator converting its clicks and whistles into English. "We claim this system in the name of Emperor Valzan IX. Prepare for inspection and classification." Catherine kept her expression neutral. "This system is already inhabited by humans. We are open to establishing diplomatic relations, but we do not accept claims on our territory." The alien's upper eyes blinked rapidly. "Your species is unknown to us. Send your ruling mail to the neutral station you call Harmony in 6 hours. We will determine your status in the Galactic Empire." Before Catherine could respond, the transmission ended. President Alan Richardson called an emergency meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The conference room in the Washington underground bunker buzzed with nervous energy as intelligence officers shared what little they knew about the Keldorian Empire. "From what we've gathered from their transmissions, they've conquered 17 star systems," said Intelligence Director Nancy Howard. "They classify planets as either resource worlds or servant worlds." "And what happens to the natives of those worlds?" asked Catherine. Nancy's expression darkened. "Best case, they become laborers. Worst case, extinction." President Richardson, a tall man with kind eyes and stress lines on his forehead, turned to Catherine. "General Foster, you'll lead the diplomatic team. Try to buy us time while we activate our defense systems." "Sir," Catherine said carefully, "the alien specifically asked for our ruling mail." The president smiled grimly. "Then they'll have to adjust their expectations. You're our most qualified officer for this mission." 6 hours later, Catherine's shuttle docked at the Harmony space station, positioned between Earth and Mars. She had selected a small team: Dr. Steve Bennett, xenobiologist; Major Olivia Martinez, tactical advisor; and diplomat Eric Russell, linguistic specialist. "Remember," Catherine told them as they prepared to disembark, "we show strength through unity. No matter what happens, we stand together." The Keldorian delegation waited in the station's conference room. Ambassador Zornath stood with 4 armed guards, all wearing similar but less ornate armor. When Catherine entered, the ambassador's breathing slits flared in what she guessed was surprise. "Where is your leader?" Zornath demanded. Catherine stepped forward. "I am General Catherine Foster, appointed representative of Earth and its colonies." The translator struggled with the strange noises the Keldorians made among themselves before Zornath spoke again. "You are female." "I am," Catherine confirmed, keeping her voice even. "The Empire does not negotiate with breeding units," Zornath said dismissively. "Summon your proper authority." Eric Russell stepped forward. "Ambassador, in our society, leadership is based on ability, not gender." Zornath made a sound that Catherine's translator interpreted as laughter. "How primitive." No wonder your species is limited to a single system. He turned to Catherine. You may observe while I speak with him. Catherine fixed the ambassador with a steady gaze. I am not here to observe, Ambassador. I am here to negotiate the terms of our relationship with your empire. If you cannot accept that, then these talks are over before they've begun. The Keldorians exchanged more sounds, their body language suggesting confusion and amusement. Very well, Sornath finally said. We will humor your primitive customs. The Keldorian Empire claims all resources in this system. Your species may continue to exist under our protection if you accept imperial authority. And if we don't? Catherine asked. Then you will be classified as hostile and dealt with accordingly. The Emperor is generous but does not tolerate resistance. Catherine leaned forward. Let me be clear, Ambassador. Earth and its colonies are sovereign. We are open to trade and cultural exchange, but we will not surrender our independence. Sornath's upper eyes narrowed. You misunderstand, this is not a negotiation. It is notification of your new status. He placed a device on the table that projected a hologram of Earth and its colonies. You have 14 solar rotations to prepare your leaders for integration. After that, we will begin the process with or without your cooperation. That sounds like a threat, Catherine said. Merely a statement of fact, Sornath replied. The Empire has never failed to absorb a targeted system. Catherine stood. Then this meeting is over. We will not surrender. Our home. So emotional, Sornath said to his guards. This is why females are forbidden from leadership roles in civilized societies. He looked back at Catherine. 14 days. Use them wisely to prepare your people for their new reality. As Catherine and her team returned to their shuttle, Major Martinez whispered, What do we do now, General? Catherine waited until they were aboard and the doors sealed before answering. We prepare. If the Keldorians want to test humanity's resolve, they'll learn we're not as easy to conquer as they think. Back on Earth, Catherine delivered her report to President Richardson and the Joint Chiefs. She described the Keldorians' dismissive attitude and their ultimatum. They see us as primitive because we allow women in positions of authority, she explained. More importantly, they've never faced real resistance. Their empire expanded by conquering species that surrendered quickly. What are you suggesting? Asked Admiral John Harris. Catherine brought up the tactical display showing Earth's defensive capabilities and the positions of the Keldorian ships. They expect us to either surrender or follow conventional military doctrine, she said. We'll do neither. We'll fight in ways they've never encountered. They outnumber and outgun us, the Secretary of Defense pointed out. Yes, Catherine agreed, but they underestimate us. They've shown us their greatest weakness, arrogance. What are your orders, General? President Richardson asked. Catherine looked at each person in the room, her determination unwavering. We activate every defense system. We evacuate vulnerable colonies. We prepare for a fight they don't think we can win. She pointed to the Keldorian fleet on the display. They want war, she said, her voice steady and resolved. We will give them war. The next 13 days passed in a blur of activity. General Catherine Foster barely slept as she coordinated Earth's defense plans. Her office in the underground military complex became her temporary home. Empty coffee cups littered her desk, and her uniform looked slightly rumpled from being worn too many hours straight. General, you need to rest, said Admiral Joseph Collins as he entered with fresh reports. At 62, Collins had more experience than anyone else in the room, his weathered face showing every year of service. Catherine shook her head. I'll rest when our people are safe. She studied the holographic display showing the positions of all human ships and colonies throughout the solar system. The Keldorian fleet remained at the edge of Jupiter's orbit, seemingly content to wait out their ultimatum. They're too confident, Catherine muttered. That's our advantage. The door opened again as Dr. Samantha Reeves hurried in. The AI specialist had been working non-stop on upgrading Earth's defense systems. General, we've cracked part of their communication encryption, she announced, her eyes bright despite her exhaustion. They use a centralized command structure. All orders come from the flagship. Catherine smiled for the first time in days. That confirms my suspicions. Their rigid hierarchy is another weakness we can exploit. She called in the rest of her core team. Colonel William Patterson, tactical expert. Major Olivia Martinez, guerrilla. Warfare specialist. And Chief Engineer Doug Peterson, weapons developer. Operation Phoenix is now active, Catherine told them. Each of you knows your part. We have 24 hours before their deadline expires. Colonel Patterson updated the tactical display. The evacuation of outlying settlements is 89% complete. Mars colonies have moved most civilians to the underground shelters. And our surprise packages? Catherine asked. Chief Peterson grinned. Deployed and invisible to their scanners, the stealth technology is holding. What about the civilian population? Major Martinez asked. Panic is spreading. President Richardson will address the public in 2 hours, Catherine replied. We need to manage fear while preparing everyone for what's coming. That evening, Catherine took a rare break and returned to her quarters to call her wife Linda and their daughter Grace. The video connection showed them in their shelter beneath Denver. Mom! Grace's face lit up when she saw Catherine. At 17, she looked more like Linda with her curly red hair, but she had Catherine's determined eyes. My brave girl, Catherine said, feeling her throat tighten. Are you both okay? Linda nodded, her expression worried but strong. We're fine. The shelter is well stocked. Grace is helping with the younger children. She hesitated. Kate, the news is saying these aliens want to make us slaves. Catherine sighed. They want our resources. They don't think we can stop them. But you will, Grace said with complete confidence. Catherine wished she felt the same certainty. We'll give them a fight they won't forget. Come back to us, Linda whispered. Always, Catherine promised, though they all knew it might be a promise she couldn't keep. After ending the call, Catherine allowed herself 5 minutes to feel the fear and doubt she hid from everyone else. Then she straightened her uniform, squared her shoulders, and returned to command. The final hours before the deadline ticked away. Earth's visible defense fleet, just 30 ships, took position near Earth's orbit, but hidden throughout the asteroid belt and behind various moons were another 40 vessels with experimental stealth technology. Catherine stood on the bridge of the flagship USS Independence, watching as the massive Keldorian fleet began to move toward Earth. They're right on schedule, Admiral Collins noted. All 200 ships advancing in formation. And predictable, Catherine replied. They're following standard conquest protocols from their previous campaigns. Lieutenant Paul Davis at communications straightened suddenly. General, we're receiving a transmission from the Keldorian flagship. On screen, Catherine ordered. Ambassador Zornath appeared, now wearing more elaborate armor. His upper eyes widened slightly when he saw Catherine. You still command? He asked, genuine surprise in his translated voice. We expected your mails. Would assume control once the seriousness of your situation became clear. Catherine kept her expression neutral. Our deadline has expired, Ambassador. We reject your terms. Then you choose extinction, Zornath replied. A pity. Your world has valuable resources. Before you attack, Catherine said, understand this. Humans have been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. We know destruction well, but we also know something you don't. And what might that be? Zornath asked with obvious amusement. How to fight against impossible odds, Catherine told him. You see your superior numbers and technology as guaranteed victory. We see them as just another challenge to overcome. Zornath made the clicking sound that translated as laughter. Brave words from a breeding unit. Perhaps we will keep some humans as curiosities after we conquer your world. Catherine smiled coldly. Ambassador, there's something else you should know about humans. We don't take kindly to threats. She nodded to Lieutenant Davis, who cut the transmission. All ships battle positions, Catherine ordered. Operation Phoenix is now active. The Keldorian fleet launched their first attack wave, expecting the human ships to either flee or form a defensive line. Instead, the 30 visible Earth vessels scattered in seemingly random patterns. They think we're panicking, Catherine noted with satisfaction. Phase 1 complete. As the Keldorian vessels advanced, they suddenly encountered thousands of small, unmanned drones that had been hidden in Earth's orbit. The drones attached themselves to the alien ship's sensor arrays, disrupting their targeting systems. Phase 2 now, Catherine commanded. Earth's stealth fleet decloaked behind the Keldorian forces, attacking from unexpected angles. On the asteroid belt, hidden missile platforms activated, launching electromagnetic pulses that disabled several enemy ships. They're trying to regroup, Colonel Patterson reported with growing excitement. Their formation is breaking down. Catherine watched as the Keldorian ships struggled to adapt to these unconventional tactics. They don't know how to respond. Their battle doctrine doesn't account for this kind of warfare. A massive explosion lit up the view screen as one of the Keldorian capital ships erupted in flames. Then another. The bridge crew cheered, but Catherine raised her hand for silence. This is just the beginning, she cautioned. They still outnumber us. Admiral Collins, initiate Phase 3. Earth's defense grid activated, creating a network of energy shields around the planet. Meanwhile, the stealth ships vanished again, only to reappear at different coordinates, striking and disappearing before the Keldorians could track them. General, Lieutenant Davis called out, the Keldorian flagship is retreating. They're pulling back toward Jupiter's orbit with their remaining ships. Admiral Collins looked at Catherine with newfound respect. We bloodied their nose on the first round. They'll be back, Catherine said, watching the retreat. And they'll be angry. But now they know we aren't easy prey. She turned to address the entire bridge crew. This was just the first battle. The war has only begun. But today, we showed them that humans won't surrender without a fight. As the Keldorian ships disappeared from immediate sensor range, Catherine allowed herself a small smile. Let's prepare for round 2. I think we've got their attention now. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle. The Keldorian forces had retreated to regroup near Saturn, bringing in additional ships from nearby systems. General Catherine Foster studied the latest intelligence reports in the war room beneath Geneva, where Earth's Unified Command had established their headquarters. They've increased their fleet to 300 ships, reported Colonel William Patterson, pointing to the holographic display, and they've adapted their shields to counter our drone attacks. Catherine nodded. She had expected this. What about our colonies on Mars? Major Olivia Martinez grimaced. Not good, General. The Keldorians landed ground forces 3 days ago. They've taken the main settlement and are pushing toward the underground bunkers. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Keldorian occupation meant. The few transmissions from conquered alien worlds in their database showed brutal efficiency, resource, extraction at any cost. We need to buy more time, Catherine said finally. Our new weapons won't be ready for another 2 weeks. Admiral Joseph Collins cleared his throat. There's something else, General. The Keldorians have sent a message. They want to speak with you personally, Catherine raised an eyebrow. Me specifically? Not the president or our male leadership? You specifically, Collins confirmed. The message came from someone called Fleet Commander Drek Vall. Apparently, he's taken personal command after their initial defeat. Catherine considered this development. Put him through to my private office. I want to hear what he has to say. 10 minutes later, Catherine faced the image of Fleet Commander Drek Vall on her screen. Unlike Ambassador Zor Nath, Drek Vall had deep scarring across his bluish-gray skin, and his armor bore many more symbols of rank. General Foster, the alien commander began without pleasantries. You have surprised us. No species has resisted the initial wave of Imperial forces in over 300 cycles. Catherine kept her expression neutral. Perhaps you should reconsider your conquest then. Drek Vall made a sound that didn't translate. I have studied your tactics. Unconventional, adaptable. You do not fight according to proper doctrine. We fight to win, Catherine replied simply. Yes. Interesting. The alien leaned closer to the screen. I have also studied your species more thoroughly. Your females often use deception and misdirection where males would use direct force. Catherine almost smiled. Is that what you think happened? Female trickery? It is the only explanation for your temporary success. But such tactics cannot work twice. We have analyzed your strategies and adjusted accordingly. Then why contact me? Catherine asked. Surely not to compliment my female trickery. Drekval's breathing slits flared. To offer terms. Your resistance has impressed Emperor Valzen IX. He authorizes me to offer special status to your species. Your males may maintain limited governance. Under our supervision, key females of breeding age will be preserved. Catherine felt cold anger rising but kept her voice steady. And the rest? Unnecessary for resource extraction, Drekval stated without emotion. I see, Catherine said. And if we continue to resist? Then we will take your world by force and implement standard conquest protocols. No special consideration will be granted. The alien commander's upper eyes fixed on her. You have 24 hours to accept our generous terms. The screen went dark as Drekval ended the transmission. Catherine sat motionless for several minutes, thinking. Then she called her team back into the office. They're planning something big, she told them. This offer is meant to distract us while they position for a major attack. Dr. Samantha Reeves nodded. Our deep space sensors detected unusual activity near Neptune. We think they're bringing in reinforcements through some kind of faster-than-light technology. Catherine made her decision. We need to accelerate our timetable. Is Project Hestia operational? Chief Engineer Doug Peterson looked uncertain. The system is at 72% capacity. We haven't run full testing yet. It will have to be enough, Catherine said firmly. And what about Operation Trojan? Major Martinez grinned. Our agents are in position on Mars and Europa. They're ready on your command. Catherine turned to Admiral Collins. Prepare the fleet for a fighting retreat. Make it look convincing. We need to draw their main force toward Earth. A trap? Collins asked. Exactly. Catherine confirmed. They think they've figured out our tactics. Let's show them how wrong they are. The next day, Catherine addressed the combined forces from the command center. Her image was transmitted to every ship and military installation throughout the solar system. The Keldorians believe they understand humanity now, she told the grim-faced soldiers, pilots, and technicians. They think our initial victory was luck or trickery. They expect us to either surrender or fight according to conventional rules now that they've brought overwhelming force. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the room and to the cameras transmitting her words. But they still don't understand what makes humans different from the other species they've conquered. We don't have one way of fighting. We have thousands. Throughout our history, we've developed countless strategies, tactics, and technologies for warfare. When one approach fails, we try another. Catherine activated the tactical display showing the Keldorian fleet moving toward Earth. Today, they expect us to make our stand at Earth, to throw everything we have into a desperate defense of our homeworld. She smiled thinly. And we will certainly defend Earth, but not in the way they expect. 20 hours later, the massive Keldorian fleet approached Earth's orbit. The human defense fleet appeared to be in disarray, with ships moving in seemingly uncoordinated patterns. Several vessels looked damaged, venting atmosphere as they struggled to maintain position. Fleet Commander Drekval watched from his command ship with satisfaction. Their tactics are failing them now, he told his officers. Without the element of surprise, they cannot match our power. Begin the final approach. The Keldorian ships formed into attack groups and accelerated toward Earth. As they passed the moon's orbit, Catherine gave the order. Activate Project Hestia. Now. Across Earth's surface, hundreds of previously hidden energy projectors powered up simultaneously. They fired in perfect coordination, creating an energy web that spread outward like a giant net. As it touched the first Keldorian ships, their systems failed instantly, leaving them drifting powerless in space. At the same moment, on Mars and Europa, human resistance fighters activated sabotage devices on the Keldorian ground bases. Explosions rocked the alien outposts as their communications and power systems went dark. Operation Trojan is successful, Major Martinez reported excitedly. Their ground forces are cut off from the fleet. Catherine nodded grimly. And now, Admiral Collins, spring the trap. The seemingly damaged human ship suddenly straightened their formation and accelerated at impossible speeds toward the stunned Keldorian fleet. From behind Earth's moon, 50 more vessels appeared, Earth's newest warships kept hidden until this moment. On the main view screen, Catherine watched as Fleet Commander Drekval's flagship tried desperately to retreat. "Open a channel," she ordered. When Drekval's image appeared, his usually composed features showed clear alarm. "You tricked us again," he accused. Catherine shook her head. "No, Commander. We fought with every advantage we could create. That's not trickery. That's warfare. You might want to reconsider those terms you offered." 2 months had passed since humanity's second major victory. The Keldorian fleet had withdrawn to the outer reaches of the solar system to lick their wounds. Earth's forces had retaken Mars, liberating the colonists who had been forced into labor camps. The mood at headquarters was cautiously optimistic, but General Catherine Foster knew better than to celebrate too early. "They're calling for reinforcements," she told her command staff during their morning briefing. The war room was less crowded now, with many officers deployed to strengthen the recaptured colonies. Admiral Collins nodded grimly. "Our deep space sensors detected multiple energy signatures beyond Pluto. Intelligence suggests they're bringing in their elite armada." "How many ships?" Catherine asked. "At least 500, Colonel Patterson replied. "Possibly more, and they're bigger than anything we've faced so far." The room fell silent. Everyone knew that Earth couldn't withstand such numbers, even with their innovative tactics. "What's our status?" Catherine asked finally. Dr. Samantha Reeves pulled up the latest reports. "Project Hestia is fully operational now, but it has limited range. It won't work beyond the moon's orbit, and the power requirements are enormous. We can't keep it running for more than 6 hours at a time." Chief Engineer Peterson added, "Our shipyards have completed 12 more vessels, but we're running low on critical materials. The Mars facilities won't be operational again for at least 3 weeks." Catherine studied the tactical display. The blinking red dots representing the gathering Keldorian forces far outnumbered the blue markers of humanity's defenses. "We need to change our approach," she said decisively. "We can't win a war of attrition. Major Martinez, what's the status of Operation Looking Glass?" Olivia Martinez straightened. "The infiltration team successfully recovered several intact Keldorian communication devices. Dr. Reeves and her team have been analyzing them." Samantha nodded excitedly. "We've made a breakthrough. The Keldorians use a quantum entanglement system for instant communication across vast distances. Each ship is linked to the Imperial network." "Can we access it?" Catherine asked. "Better than that," Samantha replied with a rare smile. "We can send our own messages through it. They'll appear to come from legitimate Imperial sources." For the first time in weeks, Catherine felt a spark of genuine hope. "Prepare a special team. I want our best programmers and linguists working on this immediately." 3 days later, Catherine received an unexpected message. The Keldorian Empire was sending their most decorated military leader, Grand Admiral Drekthul, to personally oversee the conquest of Earth. His reputation was fearsome. 15 species had fallen to his strategies, and he had never lost a campaign. "He wants to meet with you," Admiral Collins told Catherine, surprise evident in his voice. "In person, on the neutral station." Catherine raised an eyebrow. "Me specifically? Not our male leadership?" "You've made quite an impression," Collins said, with a wry smile. "Apparently, you're now considered the primary threat to their expansion." "When?" "Tomorrow. He's already in the system." Catherine nodded slowly. "Prepare my shuttle, and tell Dr. Reeves I need to see her immediately." The next day, Catherine's shuttle docked at the Harmony space station. This time, she brought only Admiral Collins as her advisor. They were escorted to the same conference room where she had first met Ambassador Zornath months earlier. Grand Admiral Drekthul was already waiting. He was larger than the other Keldorians Catherine had seen, with darker skin and 6 eyes instead of 4. His armor was simple but elegant, lacking the flashy decorations of lower-ranking officers. "General Foster," he said, his translator producing a deep, resonant voice. Your reputation has reached the imperial capital. The Emperor himself knows your name. Catherine nodded politely. I'm surprised you wanted to meet me. Your species doesn't usually recognize female authority. I recognize threats regardless of their form, Drekthul replied. You have cost us 38 ships and over 6,000 warriors. No other species has inflicted such damage in 300 years. We're just getting started, Catherine said calmly. The Grand Admiral studied her. I have reviewed the records of your tactics. Unlike my predecessors, I will not underestimate you because of your gender or species. That is why I will give you one final opportunity to surrender with favorable terms. And those terms would be, Earth will become a protected system rather than a resource world. Your people will serve as auxiliary forces in the Imperial fleet. No mass relocations will occur. Your government may continue to administer internal affairs provided you acknowledge Imperial sovereignty. Catherine pretended to consider this. Better terms than before, certainly, but still unacceptable. You cannot win, Drekthul stated flatly. I have brought 3 additional battle fleets. Your entire planet could not produce enough ships to match even one of them. Perhaps not, Catherine agreed. But as you've noticed, we don't fight conventionally. The Grand Admiral's breathing slits narrowed. Your tricks and deceptions have been studied and countered. We have analyzed every tactic you have employed. There will be no more surprises. Catherine smiled slightly. There's something you should understand about humans, Admiral. Throughout our history, we've been killing each other with remarkable creativity. We have thousands of years of experience in warfare, developing new ways to fight with each generation. Just when you think you understand us, we change the rules. War has universal constants, Drekthul insisted. I have conquered 15 species across the galaxy. Each believed they were special. Each fell. Then you've never faced humans before, Catherine replied. We spent our entire history fighting amongst ourselves. Now you've given us a common enemy. As Catherine returned to her shuttle, Admiral Collins looked troubled. He wasn't bluffing about those fleets, General. Our long-range scans confirm massive forces gathering. I know, Catherine said, but neither was I. Back on Earth, Catherine immediately called her command staff together. Operation Looking Glass begins now, she announced. Dr. Reeves, are the modified communication devices ready? Samantha nodded. We can inject our own orders into their command network. They'll appear to come from legitimate Imperial sources. And the virus package? Ready for deployment. Once it enters their network, it will spread to every connected ship. Catherine took a deep breath. This is our biggest gamble yet. If it fails, we'll have revealed our best weapon for nothing. And if it works? Asked Major Martinez. Then we change the balance of power permanently, Catherine replied. Send the commands. Throughout the solar system, Keldorian ships suddenly received new orders, apparently from Imperial Command. Battle groups were instructed to reposition, exposing their flanks. Supply vessels were ordered to specific coordinates far from their support fleets. Command ships received authentication requests that required temporarily lowering their security protocols. As the confused Keldorian forces attempted to comply with the contradictory instructions, Earth ships launched a coordinated attack against key targets. Meanwhile, the hidden virus spread through the Imperial network, disabling weapon systems and scrambling navigation controls. On his flagship, Grand Admiral Drekthul watched in growing horror as his carefully organized fleets fell into chaos. Ship after ship reported system failures or came under attack from supposedly friendly vessels. What is happening? He demanded of his officers. Unknown, Admiral, his second-in-command replied anxiously. We're receiving conflicting orders from multiple Imperial authorities, and our systems are failing across the fleet. Drekthul slammed his fist against his command console. It's her, he growled. Somehow she's infiltrated our network. He opened a direct channel to Catherine's command center. When her image appeared, he saw not the respect he expected, but something that looked almost like pity. What have you done? He demanded. Catherine's expression remained calm. We fought with the weapons we had, not ships and missiles, but intelligence and technology. This is not honorable warfare, Drekthul protested. No, Catherine agreed. It's effective warfare. And now, Admiral, I believe we should discuss new terms for your surrender. 1 year had passed since the defeat of Grand Admiral Drekthul's fleet. The solar system was quiet again, with no Keldorian ships in sight. The colonies on Mars and Europa were rebuilding, and Earth's defense forces had grown stronger with each passing month. In the Geneva headquarters, General Catherine Foster reviewed the latest reports with her command staff. The Keldorian Empire is in turmoil, Admiral Collins announced, displaying the intelligence data they had gathered through their access to the Imperial network. 6 other species have begun rebellions in their home systems. They're using our tactics, guerrilla warfare, decentralized command, and electronic disruption. Catherine nodded with satisfaction. And the Imperial response? Scattered and ineffective, Colonel Patterson replied. Their entire military structure was based on rigid hierarchy and centralized control. Without those, they don't know how to function. Major Martinez added, Our intelligence suggests that Emperor Valzan IX is facing challenges from within his own court. Several high-ranking commanders are questioning his leadership after the defeat here. Catherine stood and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful Swiss countryside. The scars of war were still visible. Damaged buildings, being repaired, new defense installations dotting the landscape. But life was returning to normal. What about our network access? She asked. Dr. Samantha Reeves looked up from her tablet. Still functional, though they've been trying to lock us out. They don't understand how we're getting in, which makes it harder for them to stop us, Catherine turned back to the room. And Grand Admiral Drekthul? Relieved of command and imprisoned, Admiral Collins said with a thin smile. Apparently the Emperor doesn't tolerate failure. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message. President Richardson needed to speak with Catherine immediately. She excused herself and went to her private office, where the President's image appeared on the large screen. General Foster, Richardson said, his expression serious. We've received a direct communication from the Imperial Palace on the Keldorian homeworld. Emperor Valzan IX himself wants to speak with you. Catherine raised an eyebrow. With me? Not with you or the United Earth Council? With you specifically, the President confirmed. I think you've made quite an impression. Minutes later, Catherine faced the image of Emperor Valzan IX. Unlike the military commanders she had dealt with before, the Emperor was smaller, with paler skin and elaborate jewelry rather than armor. His 6 eyes studied her with obvious curiosity. General Catherine Foster, the Emperor said, his translated voice high and melodious. The female who defeated my greatest admiral and disrupted my empire. Catherine maintained a respectful but firm posture. Your Majesty, I'm surprised you wish to speak with me directly. I find it necessary to understand the force that has caused such damage to my realm, the Emperor replied. For 3,000 years, the Keldorian Empire has expanded without serious resistance. Now, because of you, 6 systems are in open rebellion and my own court is divided. Because of humanity, Catherine corrected gently. Not just me. The Emperor made a dismissive gesture. Your species would have surrendered like all the others if you had followed proper gender hierarchies. It was your leadership, your unconventional, female thinking, that changed everything. Catherine nearly smiled at the backhanded compliment. What do you want from this conversation, Your Majesty? I wish to propose an end to hostilities, the Emperor said. Not surrender, a treaty. The first the Empire has ever offered to another species. Catherine kept her expression neutral, though her heart raced. I'm listening. The Keldorian Empire will recognize Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory. In return, you will cease your support of rebellions in our other systems and relinquish access to our communication network. And the other species under your control? Catherine asked carefully. The Emperor's breathing slits narrowed. That is not your concern. It is if we're discussing terms, Catherine replied firmly. Humanity won't stand by while you continue to enslave others. You presume to dictate terms to an emperor? Valzen's voice rose with indignation. I presume to negotiate as equals, Catherine said, which is something your empire needs to learn if it wants to survive the coming changes. The conversation continued for hours, with periods of tension and moments of unexpected understanding. By the end, a framework had been established. The Keldorian Empire would transition to a less exploitative relationship with its subject worlds, granting increasing autonomy over time. Earth would provide cultural and diplomatic advisors to help manage the transition while maintaining its independence. 3 months later, Catherine stood on the observation deck of the Harmony Station, watching as the first diplomatic delegation from Earth prepared to depart for the Keldorian homeworld. Ambassador Zornath, now serving as the Imperial liaison, approached her. General Foster, he said, his tone respectful rather than dismissive. You have changed the course of galactic history. Catherine smiled slightly. Change was inevitable. The Empire's way of conquest couldn't last forever. Perhaps, Zornath admitted, but it might have continued for many more centuries if not for you. He hesitated. I must confess something. When we first met, I could not understand how a female could lead a military force. It seemed unnatural. And now? Catherine asked. Now, I understand that my perspective was limited by my culture's rigid beliefs. The ambassador's upper eyes blinked rapidly. Many in the Empire are struggling with this realization. It is uncomfortable. Growth usually is, Catherine replied. Later, that day, Catherine returned to Earth for a small private ceremony. After 5 years of continuous service, she was finally taking leave to spend time with her family. As she entered their home in Denver, Linda and Grace rushed to embrace her. Mom, Grace exclaimed, now 22 and recently graduated from the Space Academy. Did you really tell the Emperor of an alien empire to change his ways? Catherine laughed. Something like that, though it was more complicated than the news makes it sound. Linda squeezed her hand. The whole world's calling you a hero. They're already talking about statues and history books. I just did my job, Catherine said, and I had an incredible team. That evening, as they sat together on their porch watching the sunset, Linda asked the question that had been on her mind for months. What's next for you? Will you go back to active duty? Catherine looked up at the darkening sky, where the first stars were becoming visible. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing because humanity had refused to surrender. President Richardson has asked me to lead a new galactic affairs department, she said, to manage our relationships with the Keldorians and any other species we might encounter. And you said yes? Linda guessed. Catherine smiled. I said I'd think about it. Right now I want to focus on us. The galaxy can wait a few months. As, night fell completely, they could see the lights of ships moving through Earth's orbit. Some human, some Keldorian, all peaceful now. Catherine thought about the long journey that had brought them here, from that first confrontation when Ambassador Zornath had dismissed her as a breeding unit to now when the Emperor himself sought her counsel. You know, she said softly, when I told them, you want war, we will give you war. I never imagined we'd end up giving them peace instead. Linda leaned against her shoulder. That's what makes you a great leader. You fight when you must, but you never forget what you're fighting for. Catherine nodded, watching as a shooting star streaked across the sky. The war was over. A new chapter was beginning. For Earth, for the Keldorian Empire, and for the entire galaxy.